in to Deadites on Deck on Sunday, November 30th for the first episode of Let's Chat with Evil Dead Chick and Ozzy the Wonder Squirrel.
This one is going to be awesome. We are going to dynasty the video nasties of the 1980s. Don't miss it.
Howdy, gang. Again, don't know if I'm going to have anybody in here tonight, but you can always watch it on the replay. That's not going to stop me from doing streams and videos and what have you, because that's just the way I am. I'm a little bit stubborn that way. So I realize that it's still a holiday weekend and people are more than likely doing Christmas shopping, doing decorating, doing whatever, floats your boat during this particular season. And but once again, I enjoy doing these things, whether there's anybody in here or not, because people do tend to watch them on the replay, and that's all that really matters. If I have people in here, great. If I don't, great. But I'm still going to keep doing them because it's something that I like to do. And, to me, it's, not really a popularity contest. People do these things all the time and don't have a person watching them. But they do it because they enjoy it. And so, like me, hate me, whatever the case may be, I'm going to still be doing these things from now until I can't, physically do them anymore. So, or unless YouTube goes away, that may be the case. YouTube could all just explode one day. But I'm here tonight. I meant to do this last night and I got very, very sleepy and unfortunately had to reschedule this. Cinematic leftovers. And what is cinematic leftovers? Well, it's that period between when Thanksgiving ends and the Christmas season begins. What do you watch during that time? Well, you may be thinking, well, Dana, I'll watch any damn thing that I want to watch during that time. That's your prerogative. But I'm on here to kind of tell you what I do in that mid-realm time. I'm not restricted either. People can watch what they want, but I kind of try to keep my stuff seasonal. So I always think of this time between Thanksgiving and the Christmas season as kind of a mid-realm. You can still watch Thanksgiving stuff. You can start watching Christmas stuff, which is what I start doing, but I kind of mix it up a little bit. I don't go all Christmassy. I don't go all horror in that case either. So like I said, I just kind of mix and match. So I'm even going to throw one in that Steve, that's kind of his mid-realm movie series that he watches. Okay. So we're going to go over around 10 of these, and it's going to be short and sweet and to the point, and then I'm going to get off here and I'm going to go back to watching some stuff. So, hopefully I will be able to do the first episode of Let's Chat with me and Ozzy the Wonder Squirrel. Hopefully I can get it put together by tomorrow evening to be able to put up on the channel. If I don't, please accept my apologies in advance. I will get it out as soon as I can. I have spent the day decorating, or spent the afternoon decorating for Christmas. Me and Steve got the tree up. I got it decorated, got the house decorated. Everything except the stockings are put up. And so people that know me know that I have a stocking for me and Steve. And I also have a stocking for every one of the animals. Okay. So that's a lot of stockings. And I've got to get one for little Ozzy, my little dormouse, this year. So got to make sure I've got that. So hopefully Let's Chat with me and Ozzy the Wonder Squirrel talking about the video nasties debacle of the 1980s. We're going to de-nasty the video nasties, folks. So hopefully I can get that up and put out for Sunday, but Sunday evening at the latest, I hope. Keeping my fingers crossed, folks. So again, I would just like to remind you guys and gals, I've got hopefully have a whole week's worth of programming coming up next week. Hopefully, no illnesses or anything will keep me down and out where I can't do programming, because like I said, I love doing this programming, whether people watch me live or they watch me later. I still love doing it. So I'm determined to, like I said, keep doing these things. Whether people, watch, they don't watch, they like me, they don't like me. That does not matter to me anymore. I'm not going to get into details, but I don't care if you like me, you hate me, you kind of like me, whatever. The truth is, I'm going to keep doing my thing, and you can keep doing your thing. Hey, Gory Tiger. And, nothing's going to affect me anymore. I'm not going to quit doing these things. So just dropping a little holiday notice that, I don't care who likes me, who hates me, who does, and this will be the only thing I say on this. Okay. Because I don't want my channel to become like a free-for-all for that kind of stuff. But I just want to say, in preparation for the holiday season, because I don't really like to talk about this when it's a holiday season, I don't care what you think about me, what you think about what kind of programming I do, what you think about what I put on the shop. I'm going to keep doing it, folks. And if you're, if you want to come in and pop back out just because you're trying to see if Dana's talking about you or something like that, trust me, I'm not. I don't care. Okay. And this really is going to be the final thing that I say on this, because I'm sick to death of saying it. So if you want to come in here and pop in and out to try to mess up my algorithms, have at it. I really don't care at this point. And when you get tired of it and move on to something else, you can have at that too. So, but rest assured, if you hate me with the very inner part of your being, then good on you. It's not going to make me stop doing something that I enjoy. So anyway, now that that's all out of the way, and I'm not going to mention it anymore, but I just thought it warranted mentioning this one last time. I want to mention, though, that there are several different ways that you can support me and the channel, and it won't cost you a dime, right? One of those ways is by subscribing. There's never a bad time to subscribe to my channel or anybody else's channel that you enjoy. Why not? Why not subscribe? Because guess what you can do when you subscribe? You can hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of the new content I've got coming out, or anybody else has got coming out for that matter, right? You can hit that like button for stuff that you especially enjoy. And heck, if you like it all, hit that like button all across the board. And here's one more way that you can support me and the channel. It won't cost you a dime, won't cost anybody that you tell about the channel a dime. And that is by sharing with friends and family members that you think might enjoy the content that I'm putting out. Share my channel with them, folks. And again, I'm going to make it real easy on you. And put my channel handle, channel name, and it's also my chat name as well. Okay, so now that we got all the housekeeping stuff out of the way and my gripes out of the way, we'll go ahead and get to these movies. Now, as I said in the beginning of this stream, I do enjoy mixing in, even early in the season, I like mixing in some Christmas movies, some Christmas horror movies, some Christmas comedy movies, what have you. Okay, so I started the Christmas horror movie watching early the other night was Black Christmas. Black Christmas is one of the creepiest films that I've ever seen in my life. Now, I've told this story before about Black Christmas and about how the first time I saw it, I wasn't impressed. Bob Clark, forgive me, buddy. I was not impressed. I'm not a prude, but I thought it was overly vulgar and I didn't think it was scary. Okay. Fast forward to the second time I decided to watch it. And I was living with my parents, and my brother. But nobody was awake this particular night but me. Mom and Dad were in bed. My brother was in bed. I was sitting there on the floor in the living room in front of the TV, and Black Christmas was on one of the satellite channels. And I was like, okay, I'm going to give this movie another chance. I really didn't expect to be impressed. I didn't expect to be scared. But boy, was I. And I tell everybody this, that I tell about my 2 early viewings of this movie, that had the phone rang while I was watching this, I probably would have jumped out of my skin. Because I think what makes this movie a little bit different than something like When a Stranger Calls, which When a Stranger Calls is terrifying as well. But what makes Black Christmas different, for me anyway, than something like When a Stranger Calls, even though a caller and a killer is calling from inside the same house where they're killing people, there's something underneath of everything that's far more sinister than I think that When a Stranger Calls is. Now, in the part when the stranger calls, when she asks, "What do you want?" and he says, "I want your blood all over me." Yes, that's terrifying. But with Black Christmas, the calls get progressively worse and more sinister and more terrifying, because they start out as a standard, obscene phone call. Some weirdo is calling these girls at a sorority house and he's wanting them to do things to him and stuff like that. Okay, yeah, standard run-of-the-mill obscene phone calls, right? But as the movie goes on and they get more and more phone calls, and Jess, played by Olivia Hussey, receives the majority of these calls. They become, like I said, more sinister. It sounds like there's 2 or 3 people. It sounds like somebody that may have a split personality, multiple personality disorder. They're screaming and yelling. There's, don't you tell what we did, Agnes. They're screaming about a knife. There's what sounds like a man and a woman screaming, saying, "What did you do with the baby, Billy? What did you do with Agnes?" And you're like, holy crap, what is going on here? And then all the while you have someone who we're led to believe is the caller as well, coming down from the attic and killing off these sorority sisters one by one, unbeknownst to Jess, who is downstairs. Okay. And then it all culminates in one of the most terrifying finales to a horror movie that I've ever seen. In that Jess is chased. She's just the one eyeball that you see when she goes upstairs. She's heard from the cop. The cop says, "Don't go upstairs, Jess. Turn around, go out of the front door." The caller is in the house. The calls are coming from in the house. She doesn't listen. She goes upstairs and she's trying to get Phil and Barb, her sorority sisters. She has to go check on them. So she goes upstairs and she sees that one lone eyeball looking through the crack in the door. And Agnes, it's me, Billy. And she screams, she runs, she slams the door on this guy. And he's enraged. He's, and he comes running down the stairs after her. She gets down to the bottom floor. He reaches out and grabs her hair through the stair banister and jerks her hair back. And you're thinking, oh my gosh, is she going to get away? Is she going to get away? She gets down into the cellar and he's, beating on the door, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, he's going to get in. He's going to get after her. And what is he going to do when he does get in there, right? So the whole movie really, once we get past the initial first couple of scenes, the film to me is just one unnerving scene after the other. And you're just completely on edge. And nobody can tell me different about Black Christmas. That, I've had people laugh when I show them the trailer for Black Christmas. I used to work with a bunch of guys at the library in IT. And they said, oh, this is corny. They laughed at it. I was like, dudes, maybe the trailer doesn't look like much to you guys because you guys are younger guys and y'all are used to some of the newer movies. But I said, I'm telling you, you need to watch this movie. Don't just go by the trailer, even though I think the trailer is terrifying. They laughed at it. I said, well, you need to try the movie. I don't know if any of them ever tried the movie, but I would hope they would if they wanted to see a very tense, terrifying horror movie. So also the tagline for this is, if this one doesn't make your skin crawl, it's on too tight. And I think that perfectly fits this movie. And that is why I have to give this one. People can laugh if they want, but I would give this one 5 deadites out of 5. No other rating seems appropriate for this film. Okay. All right. So the next one, we're going to kind of switch it up here a little bit, and I'm going to explain why I like to watch this one when it's starting to get cooler and it's getting, ever closer to the Christmas holiday. And Steve and I actually watched this yesterday, and that's Psycho. And you might be thinking, well, why, Dana, what does Psycho have to do with Thanksgiving? What does it have to do with Christmas? What does it have to do with winter? Okay. Well, if you've seen Psycho, and you really, and people might say, well, this is a stretch, Dana. But it takes place in December after the titles and when it's closing in on the hotel or motel room where Janet Leigh's character, Marion Crane, and her boyfriend, Sam, are in the hotel room. It flashes up on the screen the date and the time, and it says December 11th. And I'm like, well, okay, whether that makes sense to anybody else or not, Psycho is one of those movies that I like to watch, or in the winter, even though it takes place in Arizona and California, and you're not going to really see snow or anything like that, right? Still, it takes place December 11th, folks. And we're not even to December 11th yet this year. But it just feels like that kind of movie to me. Because not only is it supposed to take place in December, the very fact that it's black and white, those stark colors, that just, the whole atmosphere to me screams we're heading into wintertime, folks. Whether it's Arizona and California, or it's Kentucky where I am, or it's up north in Maine, or anywhere. It doesn't matter to me. It just feels like a cold weather movie. It feels like a winter time movie. Okay. And I don't think I need to really tell anybody what Psycho is about. Psycho's a classic, folks. Through and through, Psycho's a classic. Alfred Hitchcock did a fantastic job with this. I really think he took Robert Bloch's book and made an incredible, incredible film. This had the perfect actors in it. I could never imagine anybody other than Anthony Perkins playing Norman Bates. To me, he was, is, and always will be Norman Bates. I don't care who you put in that role. Norman Bates is, Anthony Perkins is Norman Bates for me. And I know that Anthony Perkins, God rest his soul, is no longer around, but he's Norman Bates for me. Vince Vaughn, sorry, buddy, you're not Norman Bates for me. And, Henry Thomas did play a great young Norman Bates. But as far as the adult Norman Bates, there's nobody other than Anthony Perkins for me. You can't talk me out of that one. And of course, I'm going to give all these a rating. And Psycho, that's another one that I can't give it any less than 5 deadites out of 5. Because to me, it's a classic through and through. It's a movie that I don't have to watch in the wintertime. I can watch it any time of the year. But it definitely fits the bill, for me anyway, for a winter time, getting cooler weather type of film to watch. All right. So the next one, we're going to switch back to the Christmas horror, because like I said, I do start my Christmas movie watching pretty much right after Thanksgiving. And that's Don't Open Till Christmas. And I'm showing you the original cover for this because my cover from Vinegar Syndrome has some nudity on it, and I don't want to get in trouble with the powers that be at YouTube. So I'm showing you this cover, which I like this cover too. You know, I mean, I could take the nudity or leave the nudity. I know why they got it on there, but I always like this the best because it has the butcher knife going into the present, and it has that ominous title, Don't Open Till Christmas. There's blood all over the floor, and you see the very bottom of the Christmas tree here as well. So, now, Don't Open Till Christmas, I know a lot of people have seen Don't Open Till Christmas. So you have a killer that is systematically killing primarily, guys dressed as Santa Claus. But there is one scene where a woman almost gets killed because she's wearing a Santa Claus outfit, or if you want to call him Father Christmas, because this does take place in the UK. But I have always loved Don't Open Till Christmas. It might be a little corny in some spots. It had a troubled production. I don't know if Edmund Purdom got, he acts in it, and he also partially directed it. I'm not sure if he got fired or he just said, take with this, I'm leaving, kind of deal. But this basically had maybe about 3 or 4 different directors. So it could have been a real mess. But I don't think it, in my opinion, it didn't turn out to be a real mess. I liked following the mystery behind it. The kills were great in it. As far as a horror movie, I don't think it's bad. And as a Christmas related or holiday related horror movie, it definitely fits the bill for me. Not a real complicated plot, as Joe Bob would say, no complicated plot to get in the way of anything. Moves pretty fast, not overly long. I enjoy it for what it is. And y'all may say, well, Dana, you're giving all these, 5 deadites out of 5. But yeah, I got to give this one 5 deadites out of 5 as well, folks. Because these are some of my favorite cinematic leftovers, folks. All right, so the next one is Maniac, which has a wintertime and, believe it or not, does have a Christmas theme to it. Because you will see little inklings of Christmas time, but generally it's a wintertime film. And it's sleazy, it's exploitation, it's got some gory kills in it, including Tom Savini getting his head blowed off as Disco Boy in the film. And he is probably the one and only person that's ever blown his own head off, because he did the special effects and stunt work and stuff like that for Maniac. So what is Maniac about, in case you've never seen it? Maniac is about a guy played by Joe Spinell, who was abused when he was a young boy by his mother, which apparently gave him a hatred of women. And he feels tortured by women, basically. Most women shun him. They don't want anything to do with him. When he was a boy, I think his mother was a whore too, and she would go out, but she would like burn him with cigarettes and stuff like that and abuse him. And so he grew up with some issues, including wanting to kill women and scalp them and take their hair home, tack them on mannequins and dress them in, whatever clothes that they had on at the time, or dress the mannequins in whatever clothes the victims had at the time. This is not a film for the faint of heart. It's definitely not a film for kids. I remember the first time that I watched it. I didn't even know anything about it. I saw it at the video store. I rented it, took it home, put it in the VCR. And my mom came in the room during the first kill of a couple on the beach, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, Dana, what are you watching?" This was the conversation that me and mom had many times. And it's not that my mom was a prude or anything, and it's not like she hadn't seen any horror movies, but the stuff that my mom saw versus the stuff I saw growing up started to get into two different areas. I mean, my mom grew up with things like Dark Shadows, the soap opera, vampire soap opera. And my mom grew up with things like The Haunting, which is scary, but she wasn't quite ready for these movies like Maniac. So it was a totally different type of film than she was used to. I mean, she had seen some of the Friday the 13th and stuff like that. But again, there's a huge difference between Friday the 13th and something like Maniac. Okay. But I like to watch it when the weather starts getting cold, when snow starts to fall even. And it does, I'm telling you, it does have a Christmas element to it. It's kind of there in the background, folks, but you can see it. Okay. So Maniac, y'all may think I'm crazy, folks, and that's okay. But I'm going to give it 5 Deadites out of 5 because it's a pure exploitation slasher movie that is so greasy, you're literally bringing the grease out of it. Okay, folks. If you can tolerate those types of movies, then I think that you will find Maniac a good one to watch, not only now, but anytime. Now, Mom always tells me, "Oh gosh, Dana, why do you watch the horror movies around Christmas time?" Okay, so the next one is one that I not only like to watch when the weather starts to get cold, but when we have significant snow, which we haven't yet. But I'm hoping we will have some snow. I like to watch John Carpenter's The Thing because there's a lot of snow, it's cold, and I absolutely love John Carpenter's version of The Thing. Now, there's The Thing from Another World, which I have seen, right? That's the original. That both of these are based on, I think it's called Who Goes There. I think it's the original story. And the idea, though, behind an alien being that can consume and take the form of the most innocent things like a dog or your best friend, your coworker, your whatever, a family member, that to me is absolutely terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. We know that now that's not a possibility, but what if something changed? I can't help but think of a what if scenario with The Thing. Sorry, folks, I feel like I'm going to sneeze here. Excuse me, my sinuses. I was not feeling good yesterday at all, and I'm feeling much better today. But I think it was, sinuses. So The Thing kind of hits you on all kinds of levels. Plus, it has fantastic special effects in it. The special effects are so great that me being the animal lover that I am, especially dogs, the scene, with the dogs being, or some of the dogs being taken over by this alien being, is hard to watch. Very, very hard to watch. And the other great thing about this movie for me, and might not be for other people, is because you're kind of left not knowing what's going to happen to the people that are left. Okay, is one of them going to turn out to be the thing and kill the other one off? Are they both going to freeze to death? You know, what's going to happen? And I really, really, in some cases, I like that. Other cases, I don't like it. But with a movie like The Thing, I like the way it's left open ended, and I think John Carpenter did a fantastic job of making this feel claustrophobic too, because you have these guys that are researching, and they're stuck out in the middle of a research facility, you know, and they can't really leave. They can't really go anywhere. So when this alien intelligence starts to take over, it makes it even worse. And you get where you don't know who to trust or anything, because you don't know who or what could be the thing. Okay. So The Thing is one of my all time, you know. Who was the thing, Uncle Bill? Well, I can't really tell you. Now, I know people have theories, because apparently one of the men that was left, you could not see his breath. Okay. And so people say that guy was the thing. But I don't know. Again, I enjoyed the fact that I thought that John Carpenter left it open ended, because it, for a movie like this, I thought it was really cool that it wasn't, you know, wasn't cut and dried, left it open ended. It wasn't an open and shut case. Yeah, Gory Tiger. Yeah, I've heard that Childs was the one that people assumed that he was the thing because there was no, you could not see his breath. But again, I am happy that John Carpenter, in my opinion, left it the way he did. Because you get no resolution, right? You don't know if let's say if Childs is the thing, does he kill? Does he kill the other guy? Does he kill Kurt Russell's character? And does he just go off on his merry way? Does he make his way out of there? Does he go amongst other people and start assimilating them? Okay. Or does he freeze to death in a block of ice and is found by somebody later? Right? Like the other one did. Do they both freeze to death? Does Kurt Russell manage to kill the thing finally, and he go off in his merry way, somehow get out of there? Or does the thing take him over, and then he goes out? You know, there's a lot of different scenarios that could be there. And I really, for a movie like this, I really, really enjoy that. I wouldn't want people to fight over it, but it makes for great cinematic discussion, in my opinion. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a rating, and by golly, I'm going to give it 5 Deadites out of 5 as well, folks, because The Thing, at least John Carpenter's The Thing, has been one of my favorites. Okay, so another one that is a winter type of movie, and I will watch it around Christmas time, and I will also watch it just before we get knee deep or neck deep into the Christmas shopping season, or when we've had a lot of snow. And that is Misery with James Caan and Kathy Bates, based on the fantastic Stephen King novel. They Live or The Thing. I would have to go with The Thing, Uncle Bill. As much as I love They Live, and I still love They Live, The Thing would be the favorite for me. Now, Misery tells the tale of a writer, Paul Sheldon, played by James Caan in the film, and his number one, completely out of her gourd, crazy, batshit crazy, number one fan, Kathy Bates, aka Annie Wilkes, and directed by the wonderful Rob Reiner, who also did Stand By Me as well, another Stephen King adaptation. So we have Paul Sheldon, who has just finished his first non-misery novel, and he's leaving the cabin or the cottage or whatever that you want to call it, where he has spent time finishing up his book, and he gets stuck in a blizzard, wrecks his car, would have been dead were it not for Annie Wilkes, but Annie Wilkes again is batshit crazy, and she wants to keep Paul Sheldon, as the two Grady twins would say in The Shining, forever and ever and ever. She doesn't want anybody else to have him, and she don't want him writing anything other than misery books. And when she finds out that he killed off Misery, her beloved character, she goes even crazier. So this has always been one of my favorite Stephen King novels. It's also one of my favorite Stephen King adaptations. And I could go on and on about it, but just suffice it to say that I love this freaking movie. And of course, I will once again give this 5 Deadites out of 5, because yes, folks, it's that good. It's that good. All right. So, the other one that is a snow type of movie, it is a winter type of movie, and yes, you can watch it around Christmas time. And I hope Uncle Bill doesn't get me here and say, which do you prefer? We done played which do you prefer? I love Kubrick's version of The Shining. I enjoy the mini-series version of The Shining, but that's not what I'm going to talk about tonight. And I love Stephen King's book. Now, I will say this once and for all, folks. The Shining is a fantastic horror movie, but it's not a faithful adaptation of Stephen King's novel. It's Kubrick's version of The Shining, which I'm not putting Kubrick down. It's a fantastic film. I knew Uncle Bill was going to do that. No, we're not playing which do you prefer, Uncle Bill. We're not going to play which do you prefer, because I told you it's apples and oranges. This is a fantastic horror film. It's a fantastic horror film, whether it was based on Stephen King's novel or not. But what Kubrick did is he took it and he made it his own. To me, it's a whole different entity than the miniseries version of The Shining that Mick Garris did. The miniseries version is a more faithful adaptation to Stephen King's book. Now, if you were to ask me which was a better film, this one all the way. Kubrick's version of The Shining all the way. But that's asking which is a better film, which is better made, which is more frightening. That's this one. But the one that's more faithful to Stephen King's book, that's Mick Garris's miniseries version. But to me, they're two different entities. Two different entities. And I hope that clears it up for Uncle Bill or anybody else. But I do absolutely love this film as a horror film. Always have. Oh, Uncle Bill. That's the same thing as saying which do you prefer? Like, okay, I can't do that because I like this one as a horror film. I love this one as a horror film. And I love Mick Garris's miniseries as a faithful adaptation to Stephen King's source material. I mean, that's all I can tell you. Which is the better film? This is the better film. Kubrick's version is the better film. There's no doubt about that. I'm telling you, this is the better film, Uncle Bill. Kubrick's version of The Shining is the better film. But I can almost tell you that for any miniseries versus a cinematic film. Almost any, but not all. But if you want me to tell you which is the better film, that's Kubrick's The Shining. Because there's a lot of different ways why it's better. One of them is that Kubrick could do things with a film that was going to be in theaters that you can't do with television. Here's Kathleen, a lie detector test like I'm Murray. I'm Murray Povich. Oh man, Uncle Bill, I'm going to have to get you on here at some point in time again so we can hash this out about The Shining. But again, as a horror film, I love The Shining. I mean, it's scary. I mean, I would have to disagree with Stephen King as much as I love good old Steve King on the fact that, yeah, I'll agree that Jack Nicholson looked crazy from the first scene that we seen. But there still is a progression in his Jack Torrance character. Okay? And he did seem more loving at the beginning of the film, and the way he treated Wendy and the way he treated Danny. And when he becomes this crazed, possessed lunatic, about a quarter of the way into the movie, and then he just gets worse, it's like, this is terrifying. This is absolutely terrifying. And, the scene on the steps where she's swinging the bat at him, and he's like, Wendy, quit swinging the bat, quit swinging the bat. And he said, I'm not going to hurt you. I'm just going to bash your brains in, bash them right the fuck in. And he acts like he is having the best time in the world while he's doing this, until the point where she hits him in the head with the bat. And after she has done locked him up, and she thinks, oh good, I've got him locked away in this pantry, and it'll be okay. And she thinks that her and Danny are going to be able to get out of there and send, the men in the white coats or whatever to come back and get Jack. She thinks that her and Danny are going to be able to get down the Sidewinder and the Snowcat. Everything's going to be fine. And then he does the little thing where go check out the radio on the Snowcat. And he said, first of all, he says, you're not going anywhere. And he says, go check out the radio on the Snowcat and you'll realize what I'm talking about here. And he's destroyed the radio, he's destroyed the Snowcat. And then he does the go check it out, and he's going, and doing all that, the Jack Nicholson stuff, that he, if you see the behind the scenes stuff where he's getting himself jacked up for, certain scenes, it's like this dude is getting really into it. So I had no doubt that he was batshit crazy at a certain point in the film. And I thought Jack Nicholson was as good a choice as any for this, because I look at it as a horror movie. I don't look at it as an adaptation of Stephen King's book. I mean, that's how I deal with it. Because if I try to compare this with the source material, I would hate this movie. And I don't want to hate this movie because I love this movie. This to me is a great classic horror movie, right? All right. So, I don't know if I gave it 5 deadites out of 5. I got into the whole big discussion. But I'm going to give it 5 deadites out of 5 because I do love this movie. Okay. So, the next one I want to talk about, or the next series of films I want to talk about real quickly, because this isn't my pick. I don't dislike these films, but these are primarily Steve type of films. And that is the James Bond films. Because, Steve's thing is when it's Halloween time, he likes to watch scary stuff. And then usually just after Halloween, he may watch some James Bond. And he also watches James Bond films around Thanksgiving. Like the after I hadn't watched the miniseries for a while, Uncle Bill, that kid used to really annoy me, and he didn't annoy me as much this time. I don't know why. I may go back and forth on that. I may watch it again, and he may annoy the hell out of me again. But you say a bonus is that it doesn't have that goofy lip kid from the miniseries. I do feel like that Danny Lloyd was a better Danny Torrance. I will say that. I'm not making fun of that kid that played Danny on the miniseries. I'm just saying I don't know why they couldn't have gotten a different kid for that. There had to be some different boys out there that they could have gotten to play Danny Torrance. I will go ahead and say that. But I like the James Bond movies. I don't think I'm as big a fan of the James Bond films as Steve is. But they are good films. I've seen a few of them, the later ones in the theater, the Daniel Craig ones. I think I've seen a couple of Daniel Craig ones with Steve in the theater, and it was fun. I enjoy them. But they primarily are some of Steve's favorite types of movies to watch, after Halloween is over, and also in that mid-realm time between the end of Thanksgiving and the Christmas season. All right. So The last two I want to talk about, I'm going to talk about these. I've been on here almost an hour. But Home Alone, it's not a Christmas horror movie, but the reason why I started even watching this one even close to Thanksgiving or after or whatever is because when I was still living with my parents, there was one year, this was back in the 90s when the Beatles anthology was coming on. Everybody remember that? Well, Home Alone played on Thanksgiving night that particular year. And it just stuck with me from there on out. I was like, I've got to watch this, either just after Thanksgiving or on Thanksgiving or whatever. Okay. And Home Alone is a great little comedy. I mean, I don't think of this as ooh, the feel good comedy of the year or a family comedy. I just find it a fun comedy film to watch at this time of the year. Um, I generally don't get it out any other time of the year except around Thanksgiving and Christmas. Um, because it's just one of those movies that just feels right to watch it around this time. And this one was written and produced by John Hughes, but it was directed by Chris Columbus. And I don't think I need to tell anybody about what Home Alone is. Little Kevin McAllister gets left home alone when his parents go to France for Christmas, and craziness ensues. And then you've got Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern as the crooks who are going to cause or try to cause little Kevin a little trouble along the way. And the last one, well, you go ahead and, I know what y'all are going to say. You're giving all these 5 deadites out of 5. Yeah, but I wouldn't be on here talking about these things if they weren't good, or at least weren't good to me, right? So the last one I want to talk about tonight is National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, folks. I love, 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 love all these National Lampoon's Vacation movies with Chevy Chase and Beverly D'Angelo. I know, they changed the kids up. Yeah, I get it. But I love these movies, and I had my dad to thank for getting me into these movies, or movies like the Blues Brothers and stuff like that. Um, my dad was very instrumental in getting me introduced to a lot of comedy movies, the Dirty Harry movies, the Death Wish movies. And again, I don't want anybody to think my dad's a bad parent, because I watched things like Death Wish when I was of age. He wasn't showing me Death Wish when I was 6 years old or anything like that. It was something that I heard about from him. And so when I got old enough to watch that kind of stuff, I watched it. Dirty Harry the same way. But we watched the National Lampoon's Vacation movies as a family. And I remember the first time my dad watched National Lampoon's Vacation on a videotape. He had watched it on television before then, and it had, nudity and cursing. Dad was like, holy cow, it didn't make him like it less or anything, but he was like, I didn't realize. I said, well, Dad, you were watching on TV. Sometimes people don't realize that, they can't put everything on TV, and, some of these were rated R. I think the first National Lampoon's Vacation was rated R. Now, Christmas Vacation is PG-13, but the F word is used in there. So this became a staple in my household, my parents' household, I should say. growing up. And it's something that has stuck with me all these years later. Now, can I get Steve to sit down and watch something like National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation? No, I can't. But that doesn't mean it's any less fun for me. So, if you've seen any of the National Lampoon's Vacation movies, you know that Chevy Chase gets in trouble all the way through it. Um, Craziness ensues this time around when they have the whole family come over to the Griswolds have the entire family come over to their house for the Christmas holidays. And I don't think I need to, describe every scene for you or anything like that. It's just a very fun vacation movie. And say what you will about Chevy Chase. I've heard he's an asshole and stuff like that. I've never met the man, and he may very well be. But in these movies, I love him. He just makes me laugh and laugh and laugh. So I guess, well, I'm going to go ahead and yes, I'm going to give this one 5 deadites out of 5 as well, because I love it so much. But I guess I've been on here a little over an hour, and I guess that is it from me for tonight. But Uncle Bill and Gory Tiger, I want to thank y'all for hanging out and being in the chat with me, keeping me company tonight as I went through these cinematic leftovers, that mid-realm between Thanksgiving and the Christmas holiday. Night, Uncle Bill. Thanks again for coming and spending some time with me here in the chat. And for those of you that maybe didn't feel comfortable being in the chat, but you were watching to see what I was talking about tonight, I want to thank you guys and gals as well. And for those of you that didn't have time to come in here live, but you'll watch this on the replay, I thank you as well. As always, I'm off like a dirty shirt. This shirt ain't dirty, but I'm off like one. And I want to remind everybody, as I always do before I get off of here for the night, to be kind to one another and blaze that trail. And, I always like to have this little holiday message for everybody during the holiday seasons, Thanksgiving, Christmas, all that. And that is, if you've had disagreements with friends and or family members this past year, now is the time to reach back out, folks. Try to mend those fences. Because as Candace has told me many, many times, no one is promised a tomorrow. And I would not want anybody to regret trying to mend the fences between you and whoever that you may have had some problems with. Because let me tell you something, folks. People that were your friends, even if they pissed you off royally, people that are your family members, even if they pissed you off royally this past year, that does not make them bad people. It makes it a bad situation, but it doesn't make them bad people. So if you can find it in your heart to forgive that person or persons and reach back out and say, hey, why don't we just talk about this? Why don't we try to resolve this? That's the only, if anybody wanted to give me a present this year, that would be the present for me. I wish that some people that were angry with me would talk to me. I do. But what I wish for everybody else, as well as myself, that we're able to mend one friendship or one family association this year. Because we need each other, folks. We need our friends. We need our family members. And we may wake up one day and find out that person or persons is no longer here. And I would not want us to regret that. I would not want us to regret it. So I'm out of here for now. You guys and gals have a fantastic rest of your Saturday night. And I'll see everybody next time.